Hello, Abigail here with the tarot for Capricorn season for all signs. All of you are included, all 12 of the Zodiac. We will be starting from Capricorn and going all the way around back to Sagittarius. I will be time stamping these so you can find your sun, moon, and rising. Also, if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more planets in a placement, and I even sometimes put 3 or more placements because, maybe you have sun and moon in a sign, and then you have a node like the south or the north node. Well, that would not traditionally be a stellium. That is a lot of energy in one place. If you had, let's say, not sun and moon, because you're already looking for that, you had, Mars and Saturn and your midheaven in the 10th, 9th, or 11th, that I would consider a stellium because that's a lot of energy. Obviously, it's not a traditional stellium. I would not say that if I was teaching a class on stelliums or astrology. It would be very, I would make sure I clarify, but when there's a lot of energy in the sign, it can also be beneficial to look into that sign as well. Especially if you've been kind of feeling a lot of stuff happening in that house in your birth chart. Or if you're really looking forward to something happening in that placement. If you're like really interested in relationships and you have a stellium where your Venus is, then maybe look there. Or maybe you have a stellium in your 7th house. Or maybe there's just a planet that you're interested in that you're like, I wonder what they're doing. Because planets can have some interesting elevations in charts. I use something called the Almutant Figuris, which is a bunch of little numbers and stuff that you add together to find out like what is kind of a secondary spiritual planet placement in your chart. Mine happens to be, it was a tie between the moon and Mars, but I'm coming to realize that the Mars definitely wins. That's what happens when you calculate that both of them have the same amount of points. So there can be a sneaky hidden planet that's really important. So just go where your intuition leads you. We will be starting off with our Capricorns. So my Capricorns, this is the beginning of your reading, Capricorn sun, moon, and rising. And starting off, I have already pulled your Oracle card, which I do love this for you because it feels very wintry and cozy. Midnight Brew, the alchemy of you. And in this moment, with this alchemy, it feels like you are this bubbling pot. And this bubbling pot is a midnight brew because you have to watch it around the clock and it's late at night, but you have been building on this concoction all throughout 2025 and maybe even into 2024. And I'm kind of feeling 2023 with the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde that happened that year. There's just a lot of stuff you have been working on and brewing on. And I think in Capricorn season, we're not quite to its perfection, but we're getting really close. And so there is this sense of almost there, this sense of attainment, this sense of connection, this sense of, I feel like I have all of the pieces of something. And it's almost to its kind of zenith or pinnacle. And so it's almost time to take this pot off, but not quite. There's just a few more things to add. It needs a little bit more time. And so I think the question is what have you been working on? And maybe it's something you have been actively consciously working on, but maybe it's something that you have been subconsciously working on. And only in the past few months, maybe this Mercury retrograde even, or maybe the Venus retrograde earlier in 2025 has kind of brought to the surface what you've been working on. And you're like, oh, well, now all of this kind of makes sense. So what are you working on in this season of darkness? What do you feel that you have put a long time into? It's very Saturn emotion. And, when do you think maybe it'll be ready? Is it going to be ready in Aquarius season? Do you think we're maybe waiting for the spring equinox in Aries season, which is right after Pisces, so like three seasons away? What else do you need to add to this concoction? What else is there? And I know a lot of my Saturn people are like, Abigail, I have put in so much effort. Everything better freaking be there. But it isn't quite ready, which is a very Saturnian thing. So what are you going to add into it? What else needs to be collected and stirred and brewed? I also like there's this little owl here. It's like you have a little familiar helping you. What spirit guides and ancestors have been on your side? And maybe there's a way you can appreciate them in this season. Maybe you can leave them an offering or a gift, just something that you can really show how much you appreciate their energies. We don't have to feed ancestors. We don't have to feed spirits, but if we want their help and if we want to build connection relationship, we do need to. So yeah, all right. So we got one more. I'm gonna pull one more card, and then we'll also include the bottom of the deck card, which is kind of how I like to do this. Okay, nice. Ooh, ooh, guys, I'm really loving this reading. Not the tough readings are bad, but there's something really, really special in this reading. Partially because we got the star, which is my favorite card. But starting off, we have the Fool, this little guy, and I do love it. He's a little baby duck, probably a wood duck if he's up on the edge of something. Fun fact about wood ducks is they have their babies in trees and then kick them out, and then we all hope that they land in the water. But you are a little wood duck on the edge of a branch, which really kind of lines up with your oracle card of something almost ready. There's something starting, and I had the question at the beginning of like, is it going to happen later? And I think based on these cards, no, I think it's going to happen sooner. It just might extend into mid 2026 because things don't just stop and start ever. But something new is coming. You are actually this year going to be embracing that kind of Gregorian calendar moment of refresh in the middle of the Capricorn season, which is easier this year because we do have, kind of a retrograde, a personal planet retrograde free moment. And so something fresh is starting. And the question, I think, is what is starting? We do still have some hangover, some interconnection going on. We have the Six of Cups, which for me is a card of nostalgia. It's not a completely new start. Also, we never get complete new starts. That's just not how the universe works. Everything is interconnected and intertangled, and if you start something new, that new thing is still tied back to older, more ancient energy. But we do still have some stuff to untangle. It very much feels like your pot, maybe the thing you've been working on. This is also about reintegrating something. There's something you need to reintegrate into yourself. Maybe it's a belief or a desire, something that you have set aside in the past. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, that thing is really important and really special to me, and I want to reintegrate it. Or there's a part of yourself that you've abandoned in order to survive. In this new season, in this new journey in 2026, you are reintegrating that. You are recalling that to yourself. You are giving yourself that magic and that gift of an old energy that you are coming back home to, which is really beautiful. You are starting something while also reigniting something, which is a very beautiful magic to bring into a fresh, new 2026. We also have our Father of Cups. There's a deepening coming. This also feels very, 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 very full moon in Cancer, which is going to be on the 3rd of January. Also, if you want to know when all of these kind of astrological things are happening, I will have it linked below, but there is the Astrology of Capricorn season video that I will have up before I post this if you want to go kind of just see what the major points are. So yeah, we have this Father of Cups. There's a deepening, there's an enrichment, there's a sense of emotional power and presence that you're stepping into, that you're embracing, that you're finding your bearings in the traditional Rider-Waite deck. The king is kind of on this dais in the middle of an ocean of tumultuous waves. And so in whatever is going on, in whatever chaos you were experiencing, you're going to get a sense of groundedness in this season, a sense of being able to kind of stand and find security and really connect to some deep emotional parts of self, not in an overwhelming sense, but in a sense of understanding and wisdom and power. This also feels very Jupiter in Cancer, which will be adjacent to our full moon in Cancer. Some new wisdom, some new understanding that is also kind of tied to an ancient wisdom. So I think maybe some confidence that you maybe lost in childhood, or I know a lot of my clients and people I know had like a lot of psychic gifts or intuition and connection as a child, and they got really destroyed by adults and abusers and people who just didn't want to understand. And so I do think in Capricorn season, my Capricorn folks are going to be reconnecting with their intuition in a fresh way, which is very exciting. And we have the Magician, which I think is that extra, that final cauldron ingredient of the alchemy of you. You're going to be doing something, starting something fresh and new. This is the one, so this is the beginning. You have the zero, which is before the beginning, that moment of invisible trust that it takes for us to do something. We have this one, which is the action after that. So I do feel, especially where the cards lay, entering into Capricorn season, we're going to have this moment. You're going to recognize something that you're going to be doing. This new journey is starting on a deep subconscious level. By the time we get to the end of Capricorn season, you will have the tools and the fluency and the emotional security and the stability to take action and to move forward. And kind of my favorite part of this reading is the star. And as I was pulling it, I was talking to you all about ancestors and spirits and feeding them. And this for me is the card of spirits and ancestors. And so definitely take care of your ancestors and your spirits and feed them. A really kind of beginner way to do that is offer them water. It's high energy. It's something they love. So a cup of water, just make sure to clean it out and replenish it. And then as you build a relationship and a dynamic, you can get more creative with what you want to feed them, and they can tell you what they want and things like that. But definitely connect to your ancestors and spirits if you have not already. This is also a card of divine guidance. You are being led to something that is meant for you. And so trust that intuition, even if it seems a little goofy, maybe if it seems a bit extreme. Trust that intuition and trust what you know about yourself and what you know about what you now desire after having to really go through it during 2025 to get clear on what you want next. All right, my loves, that is my reading for you. I am very excited for what this season brings. I think there is a beautiful sense of wonder and newness and a deepening understanding of self. I'm really excited for you all to experience. Anyways, my Capricorns, this is it for you, and now we're moving on to our Aquarius. Hello, my Aquarians. This is for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Oop, we got a flyer here, folks. If I shuffle your cards, we'll get to that in a minute. But that's very optimistic. I'm feeling really good about these Capricorn season readings. It does feel as though we're headed into something fresh and new and we're ready for it. But starting off, I do want to get into your oracle card, which is Enchanted Unity. Let animals be your guide, which is really interesting because the last reading for our Capricorns was very much about connecting to spirit and connecting to ancestors. And so in this moment, connect to animal spirits and ancestors and creature nature. And this Capricorn season, I think, is going to bring you closer and deeper to your innate self, to your natural self, to the self that is fully you, to the self that deserves to be seen and heard and appreciated. So yeah, a really beautiful kind of entrance message, my Aquarians. Really connect. And if you don't have any animals in your life or you don't do any spirit work with animals, maybe, seek them out, or if you're walking around wherever you live and there's an animal around, say hi. Connect to that energy. And if that's not even possible, connect to your own animal energy, the own innateness of being a creature among creatures. And yeah, we kind of have a slightly different soul, but at the end of the day, we're all a variety of light and energy and force. And so connect to that innateness. This also feels like a need to connect to like your body's physical intuition, like what you need and what you desire and your limitations. Animals know they can only push themselves so far. And the only times that they push themselves beyond is in a survival situation. So listen to yourself. If you are in a survival situation, conserve your energy where you can, just like a creature on the run. If you are in a more stable situation, then connect to, that kind of animal vibe of like, I'm not going to push myself beyond my capacity, and I'm going to enjoy my creature comforts and enjoy the little things and kind of live for that finiteness that creatures sometimes have. But yeah, I want to shuffle our deck to see what we're going to get for my Aquarians. Yeah, your flyer card was actually Ten of Cups. So I'm excited for that. We shall see what this brings. Okay. And I always do the bottom of the deck as our kind of final indication. Okay, so like I said, starting off, we do have our Ten of Cups. There is some sense of completion in this month. Makes sense. We're finishing out 2025, moving into 2026. But it also feels as though your desires and dreams are within your grasp. You have a much clearer vision for what those are for you. And so now you're going to be able to go out and get them. It feels like something you've worked really hard on comes to fruition in this month, something you've put a lot of effort in, something that maybe you're ready to be done with. That is a step to in your 10 of Cups moment, in your pursuit of your 10. You know, this is about emotional fulfillment and connection. I think a lot of my Aquarians are going to find a place to belong. I know holiday season can be hard sometimes to feel like we belong. Or it is that return to belonging when going home, depending on your family dynamic. But this is a season to, even if you're in isolation, to recognize where you belong. And if you belong in the little space you've created for yourself, that's still belonging. I would know. And so this is a moment to really appreciate and enjoy. I don't like using the term count your blessings, but do look around and see what 2025 has brought you, even if it was hard. What cups have you attained? You know, I've attained more emotional awareness and connection to my needs, and what I truly need now. And that, I think, is something that a lot of my Aquarian friends can resonate with. I'm a Taurus, but I do have an Aquarius Saturn. You know, so we're connecting to that desire, to those dreams. We are attaining something. We are connecting to this sense of emotional abundance. And how are we doing it? We have this lovely Three of Queens. You are going to be making and building and reconnecting with people that maybe you've fallen out of touch with, but these are people who have resources to offer, whether it be care, whether it be financial stability, whether it be something really special specifically for you that someone is going to offer. This also might be the time to call in a favor or two. Maybe you need some support. Maybe you need some connection. And that this is the time. I know my Saturnian folks can sometimes not ask for help, but in this season, ask for that help. You are so close to this and you're getting there. And a part of this is emotional maturity, which is knowing when to ask for help, which is understanding that, you know, if someone has offered help in the past, that they meant it, and we have to trust that. This also is a possibility for you to meet and to build these connections with people. Maybe they're not in the past. So, you know, get out. If you have an opportunity to meet up with people, do it. If someone wants to hang out and get coffee and you're like, why not do it? Connect with people, you know, no, not everything needs to be, what word am I searching for? It's not contract. Whatever word I'm looking for that means like trading something for something. Transactional. There we go. But relationships are kind of transactional, and we are meant to help each other and to share things. So don't hold yourself back from that in this season. Connect, ask for help. Part of the reason this is important is because we do have an Eight of Swords. In this attainment, emotional attainment, and in these connections, we are going to feel a bit stalled and stuck. Part of that is because when we head into your season, we're going into the first eclipses in Aquarius and Leo. And so there's going to be this sense of a buildup of energy. Just know that is for next season. And utilize this sense of frozenness, which is going to be hard because it is going to be kind of rubbing up against this sense of like attainment in one area of your life, and in another area you're going to feel a bit blocked. And be like, hey, how can I? And you know, not every shitty situation is a learning opportunity. I don't think you have to be like, no, guys, this is great for me. No, but maybe this pause is so that you can get closer to that. Maybe this pause is so that you have better information for what you need going forward. So don't, I just encourage you not to view any holdups or pauses in this season as like, well, I guess I'm not going to attain all the things that I deserve. No, you're there, you're getting there. You just need to slow down. And I will say for my Aquarians, this might be because you're exhausted. This might be because you genuinely need a bit of rest and downtime. So when you feel yourself being pulled back, either by your mind or situations or your body, let it happen. Allow yourself to rest. Partially because we have this Four of Wands. You are getting stability. But I will say this, a lot of my Aquarius folks and my Capricorn folks, there is this need that's very Saturnian to constantly be building because you were afraid of lack seeping in. You have done so much. Enjoy your stability. Build on your home life. Find comfort in the labor that you have done. It doesn't need to be go, 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 push, push, push all the time. You deserve downtime, and taking a break doesn't mean you're going to lose ground. It just means you're going to pick up where you left off. So really cultivate, and this kind of brings me back to, our Enchanted Unity card and kind of that creature comfort of it all. Connect to your creature comforts, connect to what you need physically, and create that kind of little cocoon nest space in your own spaces and places where you have influences, where you can feel safe and held. Because what is the point of a 10 of Cups if you can't feel comfortable? And last but not least, we have our Ace of Wands. Something is beginning. You're having this kind of completion emotional moment, and we have a beginning coming in, a start, something fresh, something new. It's something I do feel around this sense of belonging. It's maybe another wand to kind of hold up the roof of the home, the idea of home that you've built. I'm thinking more of like the idea of like a spiritual home. Maybe you have like a literal one that's really beautiful, but like just this idea of home, of safety, of care. You're building on it. You're creating more of it. And just because you're still building doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that you don't have enough. It just means that you're making something better, which is so Saturn of you. Always improving, always making things better. So yeah, look forward to experiencing the full gamut of these things, this beginning and this ending. And when it comes time to slow down, listen to your animal self and slow down. Also, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the dark time of the year for a reason. It is the time to hibernate. So give yourself some grace. Give yourself some downtime. Give yourself some time to be a little creature that burrows in its hole. Because new things are coming and they're going to change everything. There's no need to rush. If you rush, you're going to hit an Eight of Swords moment, and then there'll be no point. So just enjoy what you have and really appreciate what you've done. All right, my loves, that is my reading for Aquarius, and we're going to be heading off to the Pisces. And now we're moving on to Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Hello, my Pisces. This is your reading for Capricorn season. This season has quite a lot going on. Not that that's a huge shock. It's also the season where we go from 2025 to 2026. It's a very transformative time. Capricorn, to me, is the great alchemist, the ability to take things from the unseen into the seen. So yeah, the season has a lot in it. We have a shift of planets. If you're interested in that, there is going to be an astrology of this month linked below. But for you, with our tarot, we're starting off with an oracle card, and the oracle card is Spiral. This lovely snake on a branch, and it says, time for rest and repose. This is a season for you to regroup. Also, this is the darkest time of the year if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. And so this is the time for you to really settle in and really dig deep. Also, we do have the snake, which was the Eastern Zodiac sign, the Chinese Zodiac sign of last year. So we are also wrapping up that cycle as we go into the year of the Wood Horse. So there's just a lot of transformation and change. This feels as though you're really shifting and changing on like a deep inner level. And it's stuff that you don't really have control over. And it's stuff that you've already set in motion. So now is the time to really sink back and to sink into yourself and really start to listen and just allow yourself to rest and to sleep and to hibernate. This is a time for you to really just appreciate and thank yourself for all of the effort and work that you've done. And you're kind of doing this final last transformation, kind of like a butterfly in a cocoon. And so allow yourself to sit back and to sink into the energy of the darkest time of the year, this energy of rest and sleep and um, finding yourself, but finding yourself in quiet ways. You just draw your tarot. Whoop, we have a bunch of flyers. I'll only take a couple from this bunch, but interesting. Okay. Nice. So yeah, this is a really interesting season, partially because we have really interesting cards. Nine of Swords. There feels like there's a sense of fear, kind of specifically around what I just said, this putting things down, setting things aside. It feels like if I am not working, if I'm not transforming, if I'm not transmuting, what am I? And the truth is that you're always transforming and transmuting. And it's time to let all of your effort and labor kind of come to fruition. If you're constantly working and changing and shifting, which is something I tend to do, I'm a very kind of shifting person. Sometimes we can forget to rest and be quiet because we are so afraid of what happens if we don't, because we've come from difficult childhoods or backgrounds where there's a lot of lack. And so there is a struggle to be like, I will be held if I get quiet. I will be cared for and I will be heard if I rest. People will still support me if I'm not constantly seeking out help or making myself visible. So allow yourself to go dark, trusting in the work you've done, and also trusting that, the places and things that lose space for you when you are not constantly clamoring for their attention and energy are not really meant for you. You need to have rest. You need to have repose. And the counter to this is interesting is it's another nine. You have the Nine of Cups. This is a moment to really embrace what you've done and what you've accomplished, to recognize the things that are working for you, that you have created, that has manifested into your life. And so, you know, yes, we have the Nine of Swords with these fears and these worries and these concerns, and those are valid and true. But also remember they're swords. It has a lot to do with the mind and how we survive. With these cups, you have attained a certain level of emotional stability. Lean on that when you're afraid. Lean on that when you feel like things aren't working out, rather than feeling the need to constantly do. And then we have the Knight of Swords here. The time for action is coming. But I feel like in this season, it's not necessarily action that you're going to take yourself. It's things that are going to be brought to your door that then you respond to, because you are taking care of yourself, because you are kind of sitting with your own energy and with your own desires and your own needs. We have a companion to this, which is our Page of Wands. You are in a moment where something new is being formed. You're being asked to be curious, to be interested. You're also being asked, kind of going back to the rest and repose of the spiral, it feels like you're being asked to listen to your body in a more neutral and, I don't know that natural is the word I want to use, but childlike. Like when you were a kid and you were tired, you would just sleep, right? Like maybe your parents wouldn't let you, because I've known parents like that. But, if you were hungry, you would ask for a snack. If you were thirsty, you would ask for a drink. Coming back to this kind of, and if you never got that experience because you didn't have good caregivers, this is the time to be like, what is my body asking for? What do I want? And listening to yourself on this really core primal level elevates and moves into different spaces in our lives. Because if you can listen to yourself on a really elemental, basic level, you can listen to yourself on an intuitive level, you can listen to yourself on a mental level. And that's kind of what's being asked of you, is to really get in touch and in tune with your intuition and the things that are happening right now. As a Pisces, you have vast access to the cosmos at large. And maybe you've lost some of that. Maybe some of it's the pressures of this world, very, Nine of Swords. Maybe it's the fact that you haven't had space and time to really sit with these things. But this is the season to do that, to reconnect, to re-listen to yourself and your body. We also do have the World. And I think it's interesting. I don't always pull this, but it seems like I should. I don't always just pull off the bottom of the deck, but it feels appropriate. We have the World and we have the Knight of Wands. You are at the end of something. You are finishing out some cycle, and that is why you need to kind of slow down and let the cycle finish before we push on to something new, because you are going to hit a wall if you push. And I don't know about you, but 2025 was a lot, and there's not a whole lot of energy left. So allow yourself to flow through the end of 2025, to just exist, to face things as they come, to leave, tomorrow's problems for tomorrow so that you can have the rest that you need in the now. I will say it is not without hope. I don't think this is necessarily a Capricorn season event, but the last card I'll give you is this Ten of Pentacles, especially since we have 3 nines in a spread of not many cards. Something is coming. Something is going to come in that fully supports you, but you are required to go through this ending before it comes. You are required to sit in this energy before you're going to be able to get this Ten of Pentacles moment. And I know it's hard and it doesn't feel fair, but know that this final energy, this wrapping up, this quietness is what is going to prepare you to be ready to receive what is coming next. So allow that quietness to happen. Allow yourself to settle and shed your skin and release everything that happened in 2025. And I don't mean forget. I just mean be prepared to move into a new energy. But yeah, allow yourself to move through this. Also, I will say, beginning of Capricorn season and end of Capricorn season, there's a lot happening at the end, especially I think the 3rd week of Capricorn season. We have like tons of Jupiter, not Jupiter, but tons of opposition are we going to do? It's not Jupiter. I don't know why yeah, it is Jupiter. Tons of Jupiter oppositions. I don't know why I blanked there. The Jupiter opposition, the Sun, the conjunction with the Sun and Venus and Mars and Mercury, all of that happens at the end. So in this kind of, just know that the beginning phase is going to feel a little more slow, and I encourage you to take that final end of 2025 to really back up and slow down. But then as we shift, things are going to pick up. You will still be ending things and wrapping things up, so don't push yourself, but just know that things are getting a little spicy towards the end. And it'll be up to you to stand your ground and to kind of hold on to that hibernation, to that allowing yourself to rest. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for Capricorn season for my Pisces and blessed Capricorn season. And we're going to move on to our friends Aries. Hello, Aries. This is your tarot reading for Capricorn season, Aries sun, moon, and rising. All right, so getting into the season, it is this kind of funky little thing that happens with the Gregorian calendar where we switch in the middle of Capricorn season. Astrologically, if you want to know more, you can check out the video that'll be linked below on the astrology of this season. But yeah, this is your personal tarot reading for you. We're starting out with an oracle card, and it is Disenchant. Really love the imagery here. And underneath it says, you are protected. This is a time for Aries placements of clarity and understanding. I also think some people are going to take the mask off a little bit, that kind of disenchant part, and you are going to require protection because you'll be moving from this kind of trust dynamic into a more, closed off dynamic as you kind of maybe recognize that some of the people in your life shouldn't have as much access as they have. I think this is also a time of Aries coming into their power. A lot of Aries power is clarity and and action. And so as you recognize these things as you move through the season, you will become disenchanted with things and with the things that maybe you believed before, and some of the stuff that you felt was safe and true is going to feel less so. This is just a part of transforming and growing and becoming more of yourself in this moment. Is it a bit uncomfy? Absolutely. That's the nature of these things, but it is true to you. And this clarity and understanding, even if it is uncomfortable for a bit, is going to open you up to so much more energetic and spiritual power. It's going to open you up to more authentic relationships. So allow things to kind of fall away in Capricorn season. This also has to do a lot with the fact that we had Saturn in Aries earlier this year, where it will go back, I think, I want to say February 20th. So this is kind of that final moment before you get Aries in your sign for a couple years. And I do think you're going to experience a lot of disenchantment during this cycle because it's a, fallen Saturn for one, so it's a bit more chaotic. It's also doing what Saturn always does, which it kind of takes out the trash as it moves through a sign. So this is that kind of threshold here, and you are going to really mature in the next few years, whether this is your Saturn return or not. Whatever placements are in Aries are going to get a level of wisdom and understanding, which is the gift that Saturn always brings. So I know that's kind of looking into a different season, but just know that this is, a precursor to that. Let's shuffle your cards and get some tarot info. You're getting a lot of court cards. And whenever I see court cards, it's really about embodiment for me. My lip, got it. You get to see the natural me. Interesting. Okay. So we start off with something that feels very appropriate, especially for our disenchant card. We have the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is clear. The Queen of Wands is focused. The Queen of Wands knows what she wants and needs. And when those moments, those rare moments when she doesn't, she goes and she seeks that knowledge. And she seeks it in this instigatory way where she just heads out because she's like, I want that, I will get that. And in this season, it feels like that's a part of your disenchantment, is being more bold, being more upfront. And yeah, the queens can be considered, and I think this might be a gendered issue with the reading of the cards, are often considered to be internal. But to me, they are simply more political. They are more tactful, simply because they do deal with more pressures than, say, a king. The kings have more power. The kings usually have more freedom to do things. And so the queens, unfortunately, because of the way we are societally conditioned, are about this wisdom under pressure, this having a lot of expectations and being able to move through them with grace, and also to bend and break norms because they do have the backing and power. And so the queens go out and strategically plan stuff. The queens go out and they navigate things, and they also figure out what's best for everyone. They recognize that they do not live in isolation. They are not a lone figurehead that gets to do whatever they want. They understand the consequences of their actions. And so in this Capricorn season, go out and strategically make decisions that bring clarity, that are true to who you are, allowing places and people and things to fall away when they don't feel appropriate or right for you. Also, your other court card is the Knight of Cups. This is also about emotional sensitivity and instinct. And this kind of reads a little like the Pisces reading that I just did. This is also about coming home to your instincts and your intuition and relearning gut instincts and relearning moving on things. A lot of my Aries folks, especially if they're not raised in an affirming space of any kind, there is that push and pull between their innate spark that is just lighting things on fire and moving through them, and also kind of being at war with what they've been conditioned and told. And so in this season, if you've ever been told that you're too much or that you move too quickly, you move too quickly for them. You are too much for them. In this season, be who you need to be. Be who you've always been. Allow your energies to flow. And here's the deal. The Knight of Cups can become overwhelmed. The Knight of Cups can get dysregulated to the point where it's really hard to kind of roll things back. But you have to allow yourself to feel your feelings in order to understand how to flow through them. You have to give yourself the space to process things in an authentic way before you can find a way to navigate them in a way that allows you to function. And honestly, what is a sick society? One of my favorite quotes is, "It's no measure of health to be well in something like, I'm butchering this, to be well in a society like ours." And so your reactions and responses are appropriate. We just have to find a way to survive, unfortunately. But in this season, allow yourself to have the appropriate reaction, affirming those reactions, and then managing and navigating how you want to honestly manage and utilize your feelings. for what you need and want. I think that's an important part. Part of the reason we're so focused on our inner world is because you have the Hanged One, which is this card of kind of just accepting and allowing and letting yourself kind of be stuck so that you can attain and process what you need to. A lot of Capricorn season this year, especially, is about processing. It's about recognizing where we've been and seeing where we're going. I also feel like we're building towards the eclipses, which are next month, start in Aquarius and in Pisces season. And so you're naturally going to conserve some energy. You're naturally going to pull back. Allow yourself to make the choices you need to make emotionally. But when it comes to resources and putting things out in the world, let the eclipses come. They'll come later in Aquarius season, and then the final one will be in early Pisces because we're between nodes right now. But yeah, if you feel the need to conserve your energy, it's because your body knows what's coming. And I really encourage you, especially with the disenchantment, is sometimes when we go through these kind of massive elevations and shifting and transforming, things can get to be a lot. And so slowing down, pulling back is going to help you navigate and manage the kind of massive energy shifts you're moving, because you shouldn't be moving everything at once right now. It takes some time. Also, we have a fun one. The devil. Tis cuffing season. Maybe this is something that's a little more spicy, as it were, but this is also a time to really get in touch with the sensual side of yourself. As you're deciding what you want and what you need on an innate level, this is also about feeding the body and taking care of the self. It's about luxuriating in what feels good to you. And maybe you are a very sensual person, and maybe this is spicy things. And I would encourage you to explore that and to have fun and to try different dynamics. Maybe it's food. Maybe it's just any of the other kinds of physical things that we enjoy and make us feel good on a sensual level, on the level of our senses. This could also maybe be about, making your space a little more, I don't think there's a word for it, but that's just that feeling when a space is comfortable, like a sigh, a happy sigh. And so in this time when we're kind of stuck between things, when we're between 2025 and 2026, and we're waiting on the eclipses, really dig in and listen to your body. It also goes back to our Queen of Wands with, that trust and that desire and that innate sense. Feed that, take care of it, tend to it, nurture it. And last but not least, we do have Chariot. And this is the card of Cancer, which, interestingly enough, is where we currently have Jupiter retrograde, and where we'll be experiencing a lot of the oppositions. But we are on an ongoing journey. This isn't just the journey of 2025, it's the journey of all the years before. And we are moving through, and I'll give you a final card too, because this feels important. You're moving closer and closer to who you are, to your innate self, to being comfortable with the things that you need and want. Allow yourself to go on this journey. And a part of this journey is very Hanged One, where you have to stop and you have to ask yourself what is best for you. So in this season of Capricorn, in this journey, when you're in this chariot of life, moving through, transmuting and shifting in what is, in the face of the cosmos, infinitely tiny. This lifetime is so small. But what are you doing to become your truest self? How can you invest in you and what you deserve and what you need in this moment of time when, you are having to really face who you are and what you want and what you desire? And I really think in this season, with the Devil and the Hanged One and those court cards, you are going to find a deeper, more fulfilled, more sensuous, more tactile version of yourself. And that is the essence of Aries. I think that's really beautiful. Anyways, my loves, have a blessed Capricorn season, and we are going to be moving on to our Taurus. Hello, Taurus folks. This is your tarot reading for Capricorn season. I have made a longer video on the astrology if you'd like to look at the overview. But Capricorn season, per usual, is this in-between time where we step from one Gregorian calendar year to the next, which is an energy of its own. It is the first of our Saturn-ruled signs, and yeah, this season is going to be interesting, partially because it's also the lead up to the eclipses that are starting in Aquarius. And across the board, the readings have been so varied and so different this time. Sometimes I see a really big theme, and this time they're really different based on signs. So if you have everything scattered in different houses, definitely check out your other ones. This is for your sun, moon, and rising, or any stelliums or important planets that you may have in Taurus. So starting off with your oracle card, we have the papillon, which is the French word for butterfly, and it says, your courage will be rewarded. Ah, yes, my earth signs, especially with the South Node in Virgo. 2025 has been a lot. And it feels as though my earth signs and my Tauruses, I have one of the cohort, the Taurus sun, we've been through a lot. Not that saying that everyone else hasn't, but we have been through a lot and we have had to be very brave, which is a very Taurus quality. And sometimes it's exhausting to be constantly brave and constantly courageous and thoughtful and energetically connected as an earth sign, which is what we like, but it's also effort and energy. And Venus doesn't always want to do the work. Venus would like to be comfortable and dripping in scented oils and, wrapped up in silks and velvets and things. But in this Capricorn season, within all of the work we have done, it feels like we're going to be getting a Saturn blessing. The work that we've done and the labor we have put in and the hardship that we have faced, something is coming to fruition. I think we're going to see, in the tarot, how this is going to unfold. But I do think this is a lovely promise that Capricorn season is bringing, where there's some kind of fruition, some kind of bounty is coming to us in the dark of winter. And that's really encouraging to hear, especially considering how wild the 2025 was with all the planets shifting. I mean, we still have to kind of face that energy in the beginning of 2026, but we are coming to the end of this constant, never-ending upheaval on that front. Not saying that things are going to get better, but things are going to get slower. Okay. Interesting. The cards being themselves. No. So we do have this card that is the promise, but it feels like we're making a bit of a last stand. There's a last stand in Capricorn season that we're making. I do feel that things are going to start shaping up to be a bit more, I have this card peeking out, yeah, a bit more inspired and a bit more fluidity and motion, especially for people who've been feeling stuck. However, in Capricorn season, we still have some nitty gritty things to face. A lot about our resources, but let's get into it. So, starting off with the Two of Pentacles, we are making decisions and choices when it comes to the material things in our life. Maybe this is a job, maybe this is where you live, maybe this is recognizing where our balance of energy and care is really off and a bit wonky, and we need to kind of resettle and readjust. This is also if you've been pursuing something and you're feeling downtrodden or disappointed, or as if maybe you need to start pursuing something else, but you don't want to leave that thing behind yet, hang on a little longer. I really do think that something is coming. I don't think it's going to happen in Capricorn season, or at least till the end. Also, astrologically in Capricorn season, like the third and fourth week of Capricorn season, we have so many conjunctions and oppositions with Jupiter. And so the beginning of Capricorn season is very different from the ending, especially since in the middle we switch over. Also, Mercury on New Year's Day goes into Capricorn, and we're like, obviously we've been out of the degrees of the retrograde for a minute, but we're now out of the sign that the retrograde started in. And so in this moment, hold tight to your dreams, but also be practical about what you can and cannot do, and manifest. I'm not saying manifest under what you deserve, but manifest what you want. but manifest it knowing what you are capable of handling. I don't want you to undersell yourself, but I also, don't want you to like manifest in a bunch of things without working on the preparation. Because if you manifest a bunch of stuff and you don't have the capacity for it, you can burn yourself out. One way to kind of avoid overdoing it, especially as a disabled person, is I manifest feelings. Because feelings of ease and happiness and contentment can look very different depending on the situation. But if you're manifesting that root feeling, it will never go past your capacity. It's a little hack I use, someone who often overdoes it. Then we have the Daughter of Swords. This dream, this idea, it's going to develop. You're going to get new ideas. You're going to get new iterations and new beliefs and new understandings of what you truly want. So don't just have this fixed idea in your mind. And I think the manifesting the feelings will help, where you can kind of go back and be like, yeah, no, I'm going to ground back down into like how I want to feel rather than this material, physical representation that may or may not be what I want. I'm not going to know till I get there. But a lot of new ideas, this is also about curiosity. Where can you find resources? How can you connect to others? What kind of new ideas are swimming in your brain? I think a lot of stuff's really going to spark second half of Capricorn season to really be listening and being curious and exploring things knowing that sometimes it is just a thought experiment and it's not going to go any further, but that's a part of you growing and attaining knowledge and understanding, is just pursuing stuff for like knowledge sake. And then we have these two, which feel very much like a pair. Four of Cups, Five of Swords. It's going to be a bit rough. You are going to have people pushing back. You're also really going to want to disassociate. And this is my philosophy on being disassociative. Sometimes we need it to survive. Sometimes we do need to completely leave reality in order to survive, lucid daydreaming, being online, things that allow us to escape our bodies. But it should be a coping skill, not your all the time, every time. You will miss out on relationships. You'll miss out on connections if you're disassociative. It also makes me think that there's a message from spirit that we've kind of been ignoring. And I say we, because I'm probably also guilty of this. Pay attention, listen to what is coming through. And if it seems a little cuckoo, give it some time to cook. Don't just throw it out because it seems, whatever spirit's talking about seems a bit unreasonable. There is some reason for it. Log it away, journal it, something. But yeah, utilize your ability to transmute energy as a form of protecting and caring for yourself rather than just leaving the world altogether mentally. We need to find balance. We need to connect and also to detach to make sure that things, that we're still connected enough to like appreciate and engage with the things that we do love and care about, while also protecting our minds from things and also our bodies. I personally, as someone with chronic pain, disassociate from my body a lot. The whole staying grounded in your body is not feasible for me 24/7 because I would not survive the amount of pain that I'm in all the time. And so I'm not against disassociation. You just need to be aware of when you're using it as a tool. We do have Five of Swords. There's going to be some conflict. Not everyone's going to agree with you. I do think when we have the Five of Swords, it's like, arguments, but at what cost? Is this argument really important? And I'm not talking about giving up power. I'm not talking about giving away your authority or your beliefs, but like, is this person really worth arguing with? If neither of you are going to change your minds, maybe just stand in your power and truth and say, you know what, agree to disagree, or we're never going to agree on this. Just knowing where to put your energy when it comes to conflict. Yes, you should stand up for yourself. You should absolutely advocate. But if someone's being petty or childish, or I don't really like using childish because I don't think that's fair to kids, petty or silly, don't let them steal your joy. Don't let them, take away what you deserve to have in a situation just because they're cranky about something. We do have the Hanged One, which so did Aries. That's kind of why I think our kind of courage is going to be, our courage is going to be tested in this season. I was thinking, yay, maybe we're through it when I saw that first card. And then tarot came out and I was like, not quite. We still have stuff to do. I also don't think that we're going to be officially through it till we're past Pisces season and into the new zodiacal year, but things are starting to shape up. Things are taking form. We are just still in this cocoon process. We are still transmuting and transforming and shifting and changing. And, while it can be frustrating because it feels like we've been stretched and pulled beyond our limits so much this year, it's still, we still deserve, I don't know where I was going with this. My brain just died. We've been pushed and pulled beyond our limits. And while it can be frustrating to be put in a hanged one moment, that's also a moment where we have been pushed and pulled beyond our limits. And we need to take a second to pull back. And we need to take a second to refresh. And I love this imagery in the card because there's the cosmos in this chrysalis. And it's really beautiful. We get to kind of soak in the energies versus constantly having to be changed by it. And then this was peeking out from the deck. And I think it's really important. It's 2 of Wands. We're on the verge of something. We've got our 2 little sticks and we're rubbing them together to make fire. No, the spark isn't quite there yet, but it's about to ignite. And so take hope in that, knowing that something is unfolding in 2026 for you, specifically in early 2026, that is going to be a reward for all of your efforts. And so I really encourage you to take hope in that and to believe in the power of that. And to get, and to have that belief get you through the darker times of this year. Anyways, my Tauruses, sitting here in solidarity with you as a fellow Taurus who was like, please give me a break. We still have more to do, but we also need to rest and relax and trust that what we've been told is coming to fruition and to stay true to ourselves. Anyways, have a blessed Capricorn season, and we are going to move on to our Geminis. Hello, Geminis. This is your Capricorn tarot reading for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Stellium, whatever placements you feel are important in Gemini. And Capricorn season is interesting. It is our lead up to the eclipse season because we have an eclipse in the later degrees of Aquarius. We are also going to have a Pisces eclipse in a little bit. And this is kind of our last eclipse-free season. And so it does feel like we're building to something. But yeah, we get to experience the changeover of the Gregorian calendar. A lot of stuff is shifting and changing, and your oracle card is really beautiful. It is gallant. And it says, accept healing energies. This is a time for my Geminis to receive, to accept, to call in energies. A lot of things are shifting and changing. I had a client last night who I was like, things aren't really going to stop really being kind of shifty until summer. And they're like, that's really long. And I was like, well, it's like 6 or 7 months, which by astrological standards isn't much. But, I think for you, you are always shifting and changing. And so maybe in this Capricorn season, we kind of take a deep breath and slow down. Also, a lot of the previous readings before you have had the Hanged One. So even if we don't get it in this reading, there is kind of a sense of taking time to ourselves, of sitting back, of listening to our bodies, of believing and trusting when our bodies say enough is enough. Especially with this one, you are brave and you are courageous. You don't need to prove it to anyone. So allow yourself to be fed and cared for in this Capricorn season. But let us look and see what the cards have to say. Oops, about this season, yeah. We got the Eight of Swords, which to me is kind of a lower octave of the Hanged One. So not a huge shock. But that's what we've got going on here. Yeah. All right. So testy time. Starting off, we do have, if I get my hands on it, we do have the Eight of Swords. This is going to feel a bit sticky this season. I do want to blame eclipse season. It does feel like that kind of holding of the breath before we head into that kind of chaos that the eclipses can bring to us. This is also a time when you might feel trapped and stuck in maybe your own thoughts and your own patterns and your own cycles. I would encourage you to maybe look into some karmic work, especially when it comes to healing. Maybe some remediation might be helpful for my Gemini placements. to really get out of those cycles without having to do so much more effort. Sometimes energy is done and we just need to clear it. It doesn't need to be reworked again, even if that cycle kind of is on repeat. But also, this is kind of a call to slow down a little bit. Just like I said about everyone else getting the Hanged One, y'all got the Eight of Swords, which is a little less. So with the Eight of Swords, the Hanged Man there is kind of a sense to me of like self-sacrifice, of choosing to pause in order to gain something down the road. But with the Eight of Swords, it can truly feel like you are trapped. And so allow yourself to feel those feelings honestly, while also knowing that this is temporary, knowing that things are changing. You also have this Page of Coins, which is promising new investments, new financial opportunities, new material successes. And also just stuff that's really going to have meaning down the road, which is really important and I think is really going to bloom in a beautiful way, but you're kind of stuck in this moment. I also think that you're processing a lot. When the cards say heal, it's because you're hurting. Yeah, a lot. And the reason I say that is because your cards be a bit testy. Yeah, we do have the Ten of Swords. It's, especially in this deck, it's very graphic. You're really overwhelmed. And the reason I feel like we're in this kind of Eight of Swords moment is because you desperately need to slow down. And I know it's really hard to slow down. And I think it was Pisces that I said this to. It's really hard to slow down because if you've been raised in survival, if you don't have enough, it feels like you are going to collapse if you don't. And I'm not saying to like abandon, take care of yourself. But, don't burn yourself out because that is also dangerous. That is also harmful. That will also keep you from being able to tend to yourself, being able to nurture yourself. And you don't want to put yourself in a worse situation because you never stopped to slow down. We also have the Five of Coins. I get why you don't want to slow down. There is this feeling and this sense of loss. Also, this is a folktale fable deck. And this is the story of the match girl, where she just keeps lighting matches till she freezes to death because she doesn't have a family that cares about her and is in poverty. And so I understand that you're experiencing these feelings of lack and you're experiencing actual lack and loss in your life. But you do need to pause to allow yourself to feel those feelings, to allow yourself to process so that you're not here for forever. Especially with the Five of Pentacles, it's a lot about disappointment. It's about investing and putting energy into something and it not really coming to fruition. It not really being fulfilled, and you deserve to feel those feelings. And I think a lot of Capricorn season is going to be you just sitting in the pain of whatever has happened to you, whatever you have been through, just sitting in the struggle and the pain and recognizing what you've been through and what you deserved in that moment, and allowing grief. On the bright side, it isn't here for forever. We do have a Four of Wands. In your ability to recognize and to process and to accept your overwhelm, you are going to be able to move through and to create a world in which you are actually fed and met, where you're actually being cared for and nurtured and loved and appreciated. But you can't do that until you go through this, until you recognize the ways in which you haven't been met, until you see the ways in which you have been failed, and you give yourself the space and the grace and the acceptance to see that it wasn't your fault. Like, yeah, we all make mistakes and contribute to stuff, but like, not being loved and cared for by people that should is not our fault. And you deserve those things. I do think a lot of these difficult cards are very much kind of the end of the year cards. We also have a lot of energy picking up as we head into the end of Capricorn season, all of the Jupiter oppositions, all the Sun conjunctions. But we do have these two final cards for you, which leave us with a bit of hope. We have the Knight of Cups. This is about your emotions and your feelings and connecting to what you need and accepting and embracing the depth of feeling that you feel. I think a lot of your disappointment feels like it is around, especially with the Page of Pentacles, it's around who you are innately. And who you are innately is not bad or wrong. People just haven't been able to see you for who you are, or they've decided to take their insecurities out on you. And in this season, it's time to embrace them and to accept them and to believe that you, as you are, who you are innately deserving of love and care. Last but not least, this is the world. We are wrapping up a cycle of disappointment, of grief, of overwhelm. Some stuff has changed for the better, but especially it feels like on the emotional side of things, it just has been rough. And I think especially in eclipse season, end of Aquarius, beginning of Pisces, you are going to experience a form of rebirth and transformation, especially with, the North Node over in Aquarius. That is a trine to you, which can help shake things up. And kind of going back to your Oracle card, you deserve to heal. You deserve to be treated well. You deserve to be loved. And this season is the journey of recognizing where that hasn't happened in order for you to recognize where you can find that and how much you deserve it. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for my Gemini folks. And we are going to now move on to our Cancer humans. All right, my Cancer folks, this is your tarot reading for Capricorn season, Cancer sun, moon, and rising. All right, so if you want to know more about the astrology of Capricorn season, you can go check out the video attached below. But this is the tarot reading for you all. I do think there's a good reminder here that we are in Capricorn season, which is your oppositional season. So this is a season where a lot of things can get triggered, kicked off. It's also, in a sense, a midway point of something because we're kind of, going around. So if your birthday is in Cancer season, your sun, then this is the halfway point in the year of your birthday year. So yeah, it's just feels very pivotal and it feels like you have a lot coming up for you. But let's get started with your Oracle cards. So starting out, we have Hand of Fire. And underneath it says, stoke your inner flame. You love this image. There's something for you to connect to. It also feels as though there's some kind of physical action that you get to take. I free draw these readings. They're not pre-planned, so we'll see what the tarot comes up with. But it does feel like there's some measure of power specifically in your hand. So maybe if you do a handcraft or if you use your hands a lot to work, there's some kind of energetic feedback during the season between those things. Also, the kind of metaphorical idea of hands, the dexterity, the giving and the receiving, the holding of things. What do you currently have in your grasp that you can kind of ignite or spark or move forward? The season is a little tricky because it is the lead up to the eclipses in Aquarius and Pisces. And so there does kind of feel like there's this kind of slow rise, especially since the eclipses are between two signs. So we have one that's at the end of Aquarius season, one at the beginning of Pisces season. But it does feel like there's something for Cancers. This also has a lot to do with, Jupiter being currently in Cancer retrograde. So things are shifting and changing. You all are kind of undergoing a Jupiterian stretch. Jupiter tends to come in and kind of make us expand our limitations and our edges. Jupiter can also bring luck and good things, but it can also, in kind of an expansive way, exacerbate things. If there's something in that Cancer house that you're struggling with, oh, interesting. The card just came out in a chunk. There's anything in that Cancer house that's being kind of exacerbated at this point, this is going to be a time when that kind of expansion and stretching, or just maybe where something isn't fitting. I find too, if you're kind of trying to expand something or you're trying to get something done and Jupiter hits, if it is not meant to happen, the luck of Jupiter tends to be an ending. Also remembering that the later degrees of Cancer are getting trined with Neptune and Saturn for the last time during this season. So a lot of very big, expansive, shifting energy. And I think you do have some capacity to negotiate and make things happen. Some of the other signs do not. If you have those placements in your chart, I'm trying to think who specifically. Taurus kind of had that pushback. A couple other signs, if those are things that are in your chart, understand that you'll be going through kind of a push and pull between progress and not. There is a bit of push and pull in the cards here, and we're going to get into it. Yeah, and this has kind of been the theme. At the first, I was like, I don't see a theme, and now I see a theme. It's just like extreme progress and extreme stagnation in Capricorn season. On the bright side, this is like the first Cap season we've had in a second where we're not constantly in the middle of a personal planet retrograde. So that's great. But yeah, starting off, you do have a Five of Swords. It does feel like there's some kind of pushback in this season, maybe from other people. This Five of Swords to me is also very much like, who are we arguing with, and like, is it worth it? Who are we beefing with, and like, is it worth it? Are these conflicts really benefiting and pushing us forward? Now, if they are, then you should engage in them and you should advocate for yourself. But like, if this is a conflict with someone, just make sure that you're balancing whether this conflict is viable. Is this conflict going to get you further? Is it going to make you feel better about things? Is it going to exacerbate an issue with whoever you're in conflict with, whether it's a job or a person or a system? Just being cautious of your energy. Also, oppositions tend to kind of pull things out, and that can include energy. So just being protective of your energy, knowing where to put it, knowing how to protect yourself, and also when to advocate for yourself, because protection can work as like a wall, as a defense, or you can be offensive in your protection. So just being aware of what kind of protection you're enacting for yourself and making sure it's the best thing for you energetically. The next thing we do have is Three of Pentacles. There's a lot of ability to kind of build structures with others in this season. I would encourage you to call in any favors that you have if you need to in this season. This is also the time to maybe get coffee with someone and connect with them if you feel like you might have a project or something in common that you might be able to do together. This also can be in like family life or in relationships of like coming into maybe a romantic relationship or a friend relationship and really coming in with ideas about building. Like, what do you want to build with the people in your life? I do think with the Five of Swords, we are kind of looking at also the conflict that happens when we want to build something with someone else. Not like conflict in like a majorly bad way, but like everyone has a different prerogative. Everyone has a different ideal of something. And like a lot of our friends and the people that we love might have similar ones in some ways, but there's always some kind of negotiation. So definitely paying attention to those negotiations. I do love our next card because we do have the Ten of Cups. You know, these negotiations, this navigation of conflict is for the emotional betterment of you. I also feel with a 10, you know, you're getting some kind of gift or blessing. This is also just what can happen at the end of a Saturn cycle, where we're kind of getting to the end of the Saturn lessons in a sign and we're like, oh, all of that effort, all of those Saturnian hard things I've been through, I'm getting some feedback. I'm getting some support. I'm starting to understand those lessons and to be able to utilize them. I think my Cancer folks, you might be getting some kind of unexpected gift. Maybe it's a gift of friendship. Maybe it's a gift of a long sought thing coming to fruition. But there is this element of some kind of feedback and care coming in. And I think, especially with the Pentacles and the Swords, making sure that you are open and ready to receive, making sure that your relationships and maybe the conflict you're having aren't getting in the way of you receiving something. And I don't mean like throw the relationships overboard, but making sure those relationships are open and amenable and porous enough to receive the energy that you're about to receive so that everyone benefits. You know, when we get the tens, it's not usually just something for us. It's for us and all of the things, you know, especially looking at these little interconnections. It's something that everyone around us is going to feel and benefit from because of us. We do have two interesting cards here towards the end of our reading. We have the Four of Cups, and this baby has been showing up a lot. I see this in kind of two senses. In one sense, it's the idea of detachment and, moving from out of our body, leaving our bodies, avoidance, things like that, which I've said this before, you should use those things as a coping skill, not as a way of life, on kind of like on a less physical, emotional plane. It feels like there's some kind of message from spirit, some kind of little nudge or idea that's coming through, some little gift that maybe we aren't quite seeing, and we need to be open and kind of similar to, what I said about the relationships, about like making sure that you're open for things, but making sure that you are listening to the energies, listening to whatever spirit teams you use, listening to your life and your body and your situation, so that you don't miss some kind of message that, it may not be the be all end all if you miss it, but it might really help you if you don't. You know, Detachment is fine. Coping by leaving our bodies, and I'm really cannot think of the word for that right now. Disassociation. Disassociating is kind of the natural effect of a really difficult world that we live in. But make sure that you are in your body when it matters. Make sure that you're using it as a tool and not as a way of life, so that you don't miss out on these connections with people. One of the ways to know if you're truly connected to someone is if you can have healthy conflict. And so utilize these moments that might be a little more stressful to be like, we're really clued in and connected, because we're able to disagree and to have some kind of conflict, but also resolve it and come together. And then we also have the Six of Cups, which I think is kind of what, in a sense, ties this all together, brings us back to our hand of fire, in a sense, this kind of guiding light. It feels like there's some kind of message or emotional tool that is going to come in handy uh, during this season. Something from your past, maybe from your past lives, maybe from your immediate past, but some kind of system or function or situation from the past that is going to come in and help you out. I think, especially, kind of tying it back to our hand of fire and this kind of stoking your inner flame, is like, what is maybe something that you were passionate about a long time ago that is being reborn in a new way that you can connect to and really cultivate over the winter months, and find like new passion and new joy in. Yeah, the season feels very twisty and turny. I do think there are gifts. I do think there's a lot of problem solving, but it feels like you're reigniting something fresh and new that has maybe a bit of its roots in the past, and that's really beautiful to me. Anyways, my dears, blessed Capricorn season, and we will now move on to our Leo folks. Hello, Leos. This is your tarot reading for Capricorn season, Leo sun, moon, and rising. And the season is interesting because, firstly, we're in the Gregorian calendar year where we kind of shift years right in the center of it. Also, all of the there's a bunch of sun conjunctions, and all the oppositions to Jupiter happen in the second part of the season. So we have a very, not just the year shifting, but there's a very different vibe from the beginning to the end. But you can look that up. If you want to know more about that, you can look at my video link below for the astrology of Capricorn season. But for you, let's start out with your Oracle card. So Oracle card, I love this because it's very Leo energy. Primordial passion. Leave your mark. It feels as though some of my Leos are getting a bit of their spark back in this season. It feels like you're getting your teeth back into some things. There's this need to kind of reclaim and reassess. It also feels like you all finally getting your feet under you a little bit with Pluto and Aquarius. It's been spicy. It's been difficult to have that opposition, but it feels like you're starting to adjust, starting to realize what this means for you and how it might benefit you. And a lot of my Leos feel like they're getting back on their Leo game. Not that you've ever completely left, but it does feel like this year has kind of taken it out of you a bit, which makes sense. That opposition to Pluto is spicy, to say the least. Let's get your cards out. Okay. Nice. Not saying that the other signs have gotten bad cards necessarily, but they have gotten difficult cards, and yours is probably the most positive. So this is great. And it feels very aligned with this primordial passion that's coming back into one's own sense of self, into your power, feeling this ability to kind of shift and move under your own speed again versus being kind of tossed and turned. I do think so that tossing and turning is still going to happen because we do have an Eight of Wands in here, which often feels like the universe taking over the wheel and doing a hard right. But starting off, we have a lovely Ten of Cups. This feels really good. It feels like a lot of the, energy and work you've had to do. Also remembering that, we have the Leo Mercury retrogrades happening, and then the callback from the Venus retrograde and the Leo retrograde there. Leos have been under pressure for multiple years with personal planets, and that's not going to happen in, 2026. And so you get to kind of soak in and seep in the energy that you have really been working towards putting out into the world. And it feels like in Capricorn season, there's going to be a sense of richness, a sense of self. Also, this is because while Mars and everything's going to head into Aquarius at the beginning, that area gets a bit of a breather. There's no trines, there's no sextiles. You guys get a bit of a break. The only thing that's really going to be aspecting an early Aquarius season is, I'm pretty sure, that square with Uranus at the late degrees, but that's been going on for a minute. It's the square in the opposition with Pluto. But those are like longer term themes. You get a bit of a break from the personal planets in the beginning of Capricorn season. So especially at the beginning, really soak in and enjoy your connections, your energies, the people that you care about. And those that you love, make sure that you're saying it, make sure that you're engaging in it. This is the time to really celebrate yourself, especially during this holiday seasons. Whether you observe or not, some people do tend to have more time. So this is the time to connect, to spend time with people you care about, to celebrate your wins. Which is the reason I think there's a lot of celebration. We do have a Six of Wands hiding. We'll talk about that in a minute. We do have some pentacles. So there is some work to be done, but this is work that you have been chomping at the bit to get into, that there have been delays for, and now you're like, finally I get to do, very much this kind of leaving your mark vibe. Finally, I get to sink my teeth into this. I get to get back to work on something I've really wanted that's kind of been on hold because of all of the craziness that's been going on in life. And so this is a really great moment. Work might not, the sense of labor and work might not feel fun, but this is something you've been wanting to get started. You've been wanting to continue pursuing, and you've kind of had life get in its way. Also, with this Nine of Coins, you have so much freedom. There's an ability to basically take your resources and use them in the way that you want. You get to choose where you put your energy. You get to celebrate the way you want to celebrate. You get to soak in and enjoy the things that you have been putting effort into. And I do think in the past, if I remember correctly, some of the past readings for Leo have been a little bit testy, a little difficult and frustrating. And this is kind of the first season where you all get to hit the ground running and really take off. It also feels like you're accomplishing something and ending something, especially with the Six of Wands here. There's a victory in all of this. And you've got a Knight of Pentacles and a Ten of Cups. This is a really rich and abundant season for you. And I really think it has a lot to do with the inconjunct. When signs are quincunx, which is the fancy name for inconjunct, it can, in a natal chart, it can be a little frustrating because there's a lack of connection, but it also can be a release of pressure. It can be a moment where you're like, finally, I don't have all these other things going on. So I really encourage you to use Capricorn season. It's okay, Bubba. This is my dog over here. Can't see the little golden orb in the corner. Yeah, I know you don't like the lights. This is a time to celebrate and to really enjoy anything. Also, if you have made an achievement, yes, with the Seven of Pentacles, you should keep going on, but make sure that you celebrate it. Make sure that you get out and really give your body and your mind the appreciation and the care it deserves, instead of just maybe pushing and pushing. We also have this Eight of Wands. Things are going to start moving quickly. And I'm happy to see all these cards with the swift movement, because it means that they're going to start moving in a more productive, more healthy moment. Sorry, I see the card at the bottom of the deck and I know I have to bring it out. Oh, we do have a Five of Pentacles. I will say, I don't see this as like a crash out or a huge disappointment. Yeah. It's time to celebrate and time to enjoy, because you have experienced slack and you have experienced disappointment and you have the celebration and the work you've put in has drained your supplies, your energy. And now is the time to welcome in, recognizing that you've been through a time of lack. But now is the time to welcome in this abundance, the friendship, the care, and to make sure that with the Five of Coins, that you don't burn yourself out on the things that you love, that you don't overdo it, because the Eight of Wands can be a lot of energy. So there is, with the Five of Pentacles, this kind of just to pull back to remind you, like, the celebration isn't just to celebrate. The celebration is so that you have the energy and space to really enjoy and appreciate where you've come from and where you're going. Don't let lack and past lack and disappointment remove the joy of whatever you're attaining in this moment, and don't let other people's lack, set you off. Sometimes we can have a celebration or something we want to, enjoy, and another person can come in and be like, by the way, I experienced this bad thing, and so you might experience it too. So make sure that you don't let lack of any kind taint the joy of this moment, taint the celebration in this Capricorn season where you're accomplishing so much, where you're moving into a new phase of life. And also, as kind of like a final card, we have the Queen of Swords. You are a smart, intelligent, beautiful, stunning person, and you deserve to be seen and appreciated for who you are and for the qualities and the talents and the skills that you have. And so this is a moment to really recognize and honor yourself for that. And I'm really excited for you all. I really think that for my Leo placements, this is a really beautiful moment to celebrate yourself and to rewrite the stories around abundance and growth and change. You're heading into a new phase of success, and you deserve it. And that is my reading for Capricorn season. It was nice to have an extremely positive reading for one of my signs, because it's a pretty testy season for a lot of the other placements. Anyways, blessed Capricorn season, my Leos, and we'll be heading on to our Virgo placements. All right, my Virgos, this is the reading for Capricorn season, Sun, Moon, Rising. If you'd like to know more about the astrology, check out the video below. It's the astrology of Capricorn season. But for you this season, we are heading into, not tumultuous, I think, in the sense of a lot of what 2025 has been, but we are shifting from 2025 to 2026. The second half has a lot of oppositions. We're gearing up towards eclipse season, so it does feel like we're kind of revving into something. But I am excited for your card. We have the Stang, and it says, ride between realms. This is a time for you to spiritually explore. This is a time for you to get really rich and deep into your practice. I love the hag in this, image. It is time for you to embrace the rawness and the vitality of a truly connected spiritual practice that recognizes the primordial nature of magic and touches in with the folk of it all. I think in the internet age, and this is no hate, no shade to anyone who does aesthetic witchcraft social media, but we have kind of lost track a little bit of what witchcraft is, and a lot of it is the wild, the nitty gritty, the dirty, the untamed. Cozy cottage homes are gorgeous and fantastic, and I wish I had the lack of chaos in order to cultivate that type of energy. But in this time, it's really time to get, your nails dirty. It's really time to dig into the nitty gritty of spiritual life. It also feels like maybe we're processing some personal things and getting really real and honest with ourselves and with what we want. It's also time to throw off social norms and time to stop playing by the rules and to embrace the magic of this moment, both in the physical world and in the spiritual world. Something that's kind of coming through that I find, can be frustrating in magic, and something that I even believed when I first started is this whole don't curse, don't hex, all these things. And the truth is that's a part, if you're a witch, that's a part of the craft. Maybe that's not for you, but this idea of constantly cultivating this societally correct, very surveilled energetic work. Energy is what it is, and it will do what it wants to do. And I think my Virgos are being asked to be a little bit more spicy with their spiritual practice, a little bit more demanding with their desires to their guides in the universe, more engaged and more virile and more aggressive when it comes to the energies around them. So let me pull our tarot to see how this is going to manifest, how we can do this. Ooh, nice, nice, nice. So many Ten of Cups today, which I'm loving. Yeah, this really feels like a call into Virgo power. Also, this is a reminder. Four Cups, Four and Ten of Cups have been bounteous this reading cycle. All right, so my guys, we start off with the moon, which I find interesting because so often we kind of give the moon this kind of sheen of soft tenderness, nurture. But the moon is a rock in the sky, covered in dust. You know, it's time to really be honest with our feelings, with what we want, with what we desire. It's also time, I think, to be really honest with our manifestations. I think sometimes we can polish up our manifestations a little too much, where we're like, oh, I don't want to ask for this because it might seem like this. Spirits are not society. Spirits, ancestors, entities, they're also not the Christian God that has become this kind of surveillance arbiter of social norms. You know, this energies and spirits and deities, they're all messy and dirty, and so are your feelings. It's time to unpolish those manifestations. It's time to be real about what you actually want in all of its rawness. It's also time, I really think, for some of my Virgos to really roll up those sleeves, not in a working sense, but as in like we're about to get dirty. And really be like, these are my emotional needs. And who cares if they're acceptable or not? Now, obviously, in like relationship dynamics, we're not going to get everything we want, and that's not what I'm saying. But like, if you really seek a very specific dynamic in relationships, if you need something in a romantic relationship, now is the time to just express it. And then you can go into the negotiation stage. But I think this is an issue because Virgo is a sign of purification. Sometimes we can, you know, and I have a Virgo moon and rising, so I would know. Sometimes we can get so caught up on presenting something as complete that we steal the process from ourselves and also the process from spirit to be able to really get in and do some really nitty gritty energetic work. So release all of that because some really beautiful stuff is coming in. We have the Ten of Cups. Also, if you are a Virgo rising, this is your fifth house of creativity and sex and children and play and joy. It's time to get a little messy. We also have this Ten of Cups here. Some really beautiful, rich abundance is coming your way. Some magic, some fulfillment, something emotional and beautiful and very feelings based is going to come to fruition in your life. Maybe it's finding a group of friends you really connect with. Maybe it's a lot of the, you know, kind of work and effort that you've been putting in being really appreciated by those around you. Just a sense of coming home, of comfort, of care, of kind of a dream come true moment, you know. And no, it's not the end of this journey. It is some midpoint, probably, knowing my Virgos. But really celebrate and enjoy and make sure that you're looking out for those things. Also, when we see the tens, I think oftentimes we see, because it comes in one card, we see it as this chunk. Oftentimes the tens are a bunch of moments that are all put together that end up being represented in one card. So I don't know that it's going to be like one dream come true moment, but I think there's going to be a bunch of small dreams that are going to all come together to create the fulfillment of a really big moment for you. And just because they all come in little bits and pieces, don't overlook them. Don't miss out. And part of the reason I say don't overlook is because we have the Four of Cups, you know, and this card has been so ever present in all of these readings. I want to say 70% of them have had this card in it. And I say this over and over again, disassociation is a coping skill, you know, but don't miss out on these emotionally beautiful and rich moments simply because we are avoiding something, or because we're so focused on a bigger picture that we miss out on the little pictures that are getting fulfilled every single day. Also, kind of another level to this is I think there might be something from spirit that's coming in that we're a little bit ignoring, that we're not paying attention to, or that we're underplaying. I think it could be like an impulse or a promise from spirit that we're like, you say that, but life is so insecure right now, I don't believe you. You know, believe spirit when it says something to you this month. Believe spirit when it says wait a little longer. Believe spirit when it says something is coming for you. Believe spirit when they say this person's a little off. Because you are going to be entering into some really great stuff in 2026, and that is going to require some trust, some connection to your intuition, some belief. We also have the Emperor. This is a time to step into your power. Very much this image, it's that coming into that rougher around the edges connection to self and the earth. This belief in your beliefs and trusting that the things that you have set in place in this raw, open, vulnerable portion of yourself is going to be the core of some really beautiful work moving forward, some really beautiful stuff happening. So, you know, release the need for something to be polished, release the need for something to be ready. You're never going to be ready. You just need to step into your power and say it's go time. And I really think there is going to be an opportunity in this season for you to be like, you know what? I am correct. And I am going to step in and get this thing because I know that I deserve it, even if it seems a little delulu. Just saying. And for our final card, we do have the Queen of Wands. You know, this is that raw. I don't like gendering things. I say gender for a reason. But that raw, primal, pelvic floor energy, activate it, utilize it. This also might be time to utilize sexual energy to manifest some things. You might want to play around with using pleasure as a form of manifestation, pleasure as a form of energizing your dreams and your hope. This is also going back to that call to like let things be harsh. Let yourself be who you truly are, even if it's not palatable to others. I think one of my probably worst traits, well, not worst, one of my more unhealthy traits is that I will cultivate someone's experience so that when I have to tell them something difficult, it's not as jarring for them. Don't do that. If that's something that you do as a Virgo moon or rising or sun, just be honest. Don't spend so much of your energy trying to prepare and to prep and get ready. Now is the time. I also feel called to kind of pull this one last card. We also have the Five of Wands. Not everyone's going to agree. You are going to get pushback, but that is the nature of honesty. That is the nature of connecting to and believing all parts of yourself, the primal parts, the intellectual parts, the emotional parts, the physical parts. You know, not everyone is going to agree with you when you are authentically yourself, and that is a sign of authenticity. And you know, none of us are meant to be acceptable to everyone, and it's a beautiful and relieving thing when you finally recognize that. In this season, the mask is off. Become a menace, become a terror. Become who you need to be to fulfill the dreams that you have in all of your raw and ragged glory. All right, my loves, that is my reading for Capricorn season. I hope that is a blessed one. And now we are going to move on to our Libras. All right, my Libras, this is your reading for Capricorn season, Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So the season is very spicy. It's also your squared season. It is when the sun is square your sign. It can be a bit testy. I also encourage people to always kind of look back and see what the quality of each season has been for you across your life, because aspects in your chart, your rising, all of these things really shift how you experience energy. And sometimes the best way is to look back to see what historically has happened. Also, this season is the lead up into eclipse season and Aquarius season. So there's a lot of pressure in this season. And I think you'd benefit from, I just get the feeling that you might benefit from kind of being like, what have past seasons been like for me? On the bright side, this season doesn't have any personal planet retrogrades, because if you remember, we've had a lot of those over the years. It's been quite this long, but let's get started with your oracle card. So we have Stardust and Soil opposites attract, which I really love. I find this really interesting. It feels like Reggie, go boy. Sorry, someone's out in the hall, and I don't know if you can see him, but my baby is right here. Good boy, you're being so sweet. You're helping mommy record. Sorry. Tell him he's good for not screaming at our neighbors. Anyways, back to what we're talking about. I love this. We have the Ouroboros, which is that snake eating the tail. We have this hand reaching out of the sky and touching a physical plant. It feels as though there's some kind of transcendence in this season. Also a mixing of both the ethereal and the material, where you're going to have some really beautiful, energetic, and magical things happen, and also some, really physical and like material representations of that magic in your life, which is really beautiful. I just love the artwork on this card so much. I also just love hands, eyes, anatomical hearts, all of these things. So, and opposites attract, it does make me wonder if we're not pulling in some people energetically in our life who are, kind of the yin to our yang, the opposition to who we are as a person, which for a Libra especially can be really stabilizing. Makes me wonder if you're not going to get an Aries rolling up. It can be really stabilizing for a Libra that, balance is such a big kind of goal in your life, to have someone who counterbalances some of your traits. It feels like that might be something that's coming up, but let's see what our cards have to say. I also love this deck so much. It's probably one of my favorite decks I've gotten recently in a while. It's taking a minute. I've had a couple times where the decks have just like thrown up something for me, and then other times like this one where I'm just like, no, take your time. Yeah, so definitely kind of a shift between worlds. There's also an interesting kind of parallel in the final card, but let's get into it. So starting off, we have the Knight of Pentacles. We are continuing to work on something very much in line with that kind of manifestation vibe of that card, where we're kind of pulling things out of the ether to make them real. The Knight of Pentacles and all the court cards for me are like embodiment cards. These are things that we want to do. These are energies we want to kind of soak into so that we can move forward and we can work with the energies ourselves. And so this is an energy of continuing to build on something we're already building on, to continue the work that we've already started. Also, I think it's important to bring these two together, as we also have an Eight of Pentacles, which these cards always feel very aligned. The Eight of Pentacles is like, it's about perfecting a craft, whereas the Seven of Pentacles is like digging in the dirt and, large motor skills. The Eight of Pentacles is the fine motor skills card. It's the fine tuning of a process. It is the learning of refinement and of getting things down to like a really tight, well, kind of like a tight five, perfecting a set. And so in this season, it does feel like you're making kind of micro adjustments day by day to kind of rebalance. It also feels like with this kind of energy of opposites attract, you might have an impetus to like take a hard right or take a hard left. But I think the truth is that you really just need to kind of tweak things a little bit over time versus like just overhauling and shifting something completely. That's really going to throw you off. And the reason the opposites are coming in is you're going to get an oppositional energy that's going to balance you out without you having to overcorrect, without you needing to like just go hard in one direction or hard in another direction. So don't make, the universe is probably going to bring you some pretty big events, but don't make any big actions without some kind of form of causation. This is really about fine tuning something, honing a craft. Maybe it's like adjusting your prices just so much, just a certain amount that spirit has called you to do. Maybe it's about requiring a little more accountability from someone. But these are all incremental changes. None of these are like time for a huge conversation about this. It's going to change all of our lives. Like I said, I do have my suspicions that the universe is going to kind of create some big moments for you, but these aren't things that you are going to be activating yourself. Then we have the King of Wands, and we're kind of getting a companion theme here, which is interesting. Opposites attract. This feels very opposite. We have the King of Wands and the Queen of Swords. You are being asked to harness this kind of strong external energy and power and belief in self. Also feels like you're being called to harness Aries energy, to harness the kind of cardinal raw desire of an Aries. Like Aries is kind of like the raw uncut gem, and Libra is the kind of polished version of something. You're being asked to go more towards that uncut area. It's also kind of similar to what the Virgos got, to really step out on faith, to believe in what you deserve, to push for something, to take your dreams forward. And obviously this is kind of tempered by that Knight of Pentacles, but you need to, in a raw and rough sense, be ready for whatever the universe is bringing you this season. And they have the Queen of Swords, which is about perception and intuition and connection to like the really fine things, which really ties into our Eight of Pentacles moment. Really just sitting with and, just working on stuff. I think I heard one other tarot reader say, I think it's like moving in silence, like taking action without everyone knowing, taking action without kind of yelling it out to the world, which might seem antithetical to the King of Wands, but we're balancing. And so a part of you and a part of your life is going to require you to kind of cut the crap and be bold. And then another part of you is going to require some finesse and also some silence as you move and, push forward your dreams. Oh, well, I guess we're going to read all of these then. The reason I think the universe is going to bring some pretty intense things is we do have the Death card. However, I do love this kind of in between thing here, this transmutation that's happening in this moment. It feels very much like our Stardust and Soil card. Something is changing. You are on a threshold and you are right in between it. You are both in the past and in the present. And that's kind of why you're being required to fine tune and to really ground it down into yourself, because that is what is required when we go into these thresholds. You also have the Nine of Cups. You are so close to attaining something. You are right almost at the point of celebration. And so hang on to that. Play your cards right and be ready, especially as we head into Aquarius season, to really have a moment of really rich, joyous celebration. I would also encourage you to maybe do something fun with your friends during Capricorn season. Maybe it's a New Year's Eve party, maybe it's a Christmas party, just something to celebrate connection. It's also going to be you connecting with people who have different beliefs and different focuses in you that are going to help balance out the energy of the season. And last but not least, we have the High Priestess. There is, underneath all of this that's going on, there is a deep subconscious spiritual journey happening. So be gentle with yourself. Do the little things day by day, knowing that the bigger, broader actions are going to come in a natural form. And you're going to be able to really act out on that King of Wands energy as you do the supportive work that's going to come up underneath and support and help you. Anyways, my Libras, that is my reading for Capricorn season. Live between the worlds. Know that you're between the past and the present during this season. It feels very much like threshold of the Gregorian calendar year. And be ready to act when the universe acts, but do those little things day by day in Capricorn season. It will really pay off. All right. Now we are going to move on to our Scorpios. I hope you have a blessed season. All right, my Scorpios, this is your reading for Capricorn season, Scorpio sun, moon, and rising, or any stellium or important placements that you would like to look into. So this season is definitely a lot on the tail end of it. You can check out the astrology for that in the link that is below this about the astrology of 20, not 2025, God. Sorry, I'm a bit higgledy-piggledy today. The astrology for Capricorn season. But for you, starting off with your oracle card, we have unguarded. Trust the unexpected. I do think that this season is going to require a deep sense of trust and vulnerability from you. If you look at the image on this card, this is a little human that's all naked, resting on a bear. The universe is going to carry you through Capricorn season. Also, y'all have been through it with the Mercury retrograde earlier. And so now is a time of rebirth and reconnecting and kind of resting in order to regroup as we head into 2026. So my advice, as much downtime as you can take, my Scorpios. Also, Mars is an exaltation in Capricorn, so things are going to feel a little smoother and it might feel like you need to go do a bunch of things. I would encourage you to rest up, to let this be a time when the universe brings things to you rather than you going out and seeking them, which is a little antithetical for a Mars sign. But, definitely I think it's going to serve you in the long run. Also, a lot of my Scorpio folks, and this makes sense, you're very guarded, especially when it comes to spiritual stuff. But I do think pushing yourself a smidge to just trust the energy a bit, to believe that things are going to happen, even if you're not pushing it, to allow some stuff to unfold so that you have more information as you head into 2026. I especially encourage downtime as we head into 2026. If you feel the need to pick up and start doing stuff later on, sure, do what you need to do. But do try to get some repose, some rest. Also know that like the things you've been manifesting, the energies you've been working with, those are still happening even if you're not actively pushing them all the time. And I think this season is an important lesson of you kind of just letting stuff go a little bit, releasing some things, allowing some things to happen, so that you can kind of rest up and be ready for whatever energy 2026 is going to be bringing to you. But let's get an eye on your cards. Oh, we got some flyers. I knew they were coming. I knew they would be coming up. When I picked up the deck, the star was on the bottom. And usually when I spot a card, even though I shuffle the deck super hard, the card that I see is going to come out of the deck by hook or by crook. Ooh, I like this. So, starting off, we have the star, which really lines up with this unguarded energy of trusting your guides, of believing in, whatever spiritual system that you work with. They are here and they have your back. They are supporting you. They are ready for you to attain and achieve and progress. And they don't necessarily need you to do a bunch of work, but they do need you to trust. They do need you to listen and pay attention and continue to connect with them and to energetically trust and build trust with them. So if you've been avoiding some spiritual work, or if I've had a couple clients have this experience where they feel a bit betrayed by their spirit group, where they don't feel like they're getting much help, or that the kind of desires don't align. This is the time to reconnect. These are relationships. You don't just roll up and everything's fine. You have to build things with your spirit groups and with your ancestors and your guides. So I encourage you in this season, even if it's as simple as like making 2 cups of tea and setting one on the table opposite to you and one for yourself, and just sitting with the energies in your life and giving them the space to speak in whatever way you receive messages, because it's not always one-to-one hearing things or perceiving things visually. But yeah, this is an opportunity to, and I just love this card so much. I love the colors. I love the setup. I love the feeling of it in my hands. This is a time for you to connect and to believe and to trust and to really build these relationships for the future work that you're going to be doing. Now we also have the Death card. This doesn't actually bother me because this is your card. A lot of times the Death card can feel like a lot, but this is a time of transmutation. This is a time of shift and change. This is the time when an old year is ending and a new year is beginning. So I would really encourage you, with this work that I have been talking about doing and with the trust is to just sit in the energy of death, which is actually your native energy. That is the energy that you come into the world with, of being a transformer who shifts things between timeline, who transmutes energy. And so to get really comfortable with death and maybe even look back on what death has meant for you in your life, whether it is a literal representation of a soul passing, or if it is just the dying of a dream or something like that, to just see how that has played out in your life and what those themes are. Also might be a good time to look at your astrological chart, see where you show up and where Mars is and how that manifests itself and what kind of a Scorpio it makes you. I do really love these cards because I think if you can trust and if you can allow this transmutation to happen, we have the 10 of Pentacles, which is abundance and enough to share, and the 9 of Cups. In Capricorn season, there is something really rich and abundant and beautiful coming. You just have to be unguarded. You just have to trust that the unexpected is possible, that things that don't seem possible can happen when you believe in their possibility. And here is their possibility, this beautiful 9 of Cups of emotional fulfillment and celebration, and not just having nice things, but being able to utilize them and enjoy them, as well as having more than enough to share. It feels like this Capricorn season, you are not only getting that energy, but you're also getting the energy of being able to start something else. These good things that are coming are also going to platform even better things. And so, yeah, I think it might have a lot to do. I'm being flashed by the deck, showing me, yeah, has a lot to do with the Cancer full moon at the beginning of January. Yeah. So yes, pay attention to the Cancer full moon at the beginning of January. I think it's on the 3rd. But that full moon is an opportunity for my Scorpio people to trust, to be unguarded, to believe in better things. Also a great moon to manifest some really beautiful stuff. It's also the last time that we get a trine with Neptune. It's not going to be, yeah, it's the beginning of the year. Yeah, no, it's going to be the first time. It's not going to be an exact trine. It's going to be an early trine. But it is our kind of final moment of energetic exchange from Cancer to Neptune in Pisces. And so this is a time to believe in your dreams, to reset, to trust in what is coming, and to celebrate what is possible, and to use that kind of loose Neptunian energy to manifest what you want. Like I said, it's not going to be an exact orb, but this is the kind of final little bye guys for those planets, Saturn included, also Jupiter, which will be close by. So this is a really potent moon for you because, yeah, we have the Daughter Cups underneath, which is my direction. Yeah, it is setting you up for this moment, for this abundance and this spark that are coming in the later degrees of Capricorn, which, yeah. And then there is a Capricorn new moon on the 18th. Very important to note. So that 2-week period is when this abundance is going to show up. It is a time when I don't think the abundance is going to be enough. I'll say this. It's not going to be enough for you to not feel vulnerable, because that unguarded aspect is true. But it is going to be enough for you to believe in the vulnerability that you have, and to offer that up as a gift to your guides and ancestors, believing that they can help you. But there's going to be a sign around the moon for you. I don't always say stuff like this, but I feel really strongly there's some really good stuff happening that is going to specifically develop as we move throughout the year, and probably, I would say, sometime in Taurus season. Like, you're going to see good stuff here, but that spark that you're starting is really pushing things towards Taurus season, and then the kind of the 6-month thing where we'll get where we're going to get maybe not Taurus season. No, Cancer season. So a little later. The 6-month period between Capricorn season and Cancer season, something's going to happen and some really nice stuff is going to come to fruition with the renewed Cancer energy once we enter Cancer season in June. So right around it's the beginning of the summer's time, summer solstice. So that's my message for you. Become unguarded. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. I know it's really hard, especially to the unknown. But allow yourself to become vulnerable to invite these really beautiful, wonderful, delicious energies that are coming your way. And you and Leo got a bit lucky. Both of you had really rich, abundant things. Not that everyone else didn't, but some of the signs, a lot of struggle. But this is a really beautiful time. A lot of the discomfort you will feel is this kind of free fall. And something else is peeking out from the deck is the Fool. You're on the precipice of something really beautiful, and trusting is a huge part of this. And that's something that you're going to have to learn in order to get what you want. So let's buckle in. Anyways, my dears, that is my reading for the Scorpio folks. And we'll be moving on to our last reading, which is for Sagittarius. Hi, my Sagittarians. This is your reading for Capricorn season, Sagittarius sun, moon, and rising. My dears, we are finally out of Sagittarius season, which normally would be great for y'all because it's your sign. But I will say it was a bit testy with all the squares. And so there is a sense of relief coming into Capricorn season. No direct connection with the nodes right now. Well, I mean, there is going to be the South Node trine, but like you're not in that squared energy. You're in a trine with the nodes and a sextile with the North Node. This is much more comfy. And also everything's out of a mutable sign. So there's a bit of pressure off. So yeah, this feels much better. Let's look at your Oracle card. Also, if you want to know more about the astrology of the season, you can check the link below. But we start off with phenomenon. Expect the extraordinary. I almost wanted to say phenomenon. But no, phenomenon. This is so beautiful and transcendent and also so Sagittarian. There's just so much joy and exaltation and creative energy in this card. I think especially if you have been feeling a bit burnt out or run down, Capricorn season is a time of rejuvenation, of reconnection, of a renewed sense of joy and satisfaction in what you do. You know, it's also expect the extraordinary. I think a lot of the stuff you've been kind of putting energy into that just doesn't feel like it's paying off, you're going to get some kind of payoff, which is very, very nice. Yes. A lot of water energy. Good, good. I'm getting the sense this has a lot to do with career. Yes, okay. So, starting off, we do have the Chariot, which is the card of Cancer, which is where your ruler, Jupiter, is currently retrograde. So there is this feeling of being swept away, being on this journey, especially since the summer of 2025, just kind of being on this this energetic ride. It's also super interesting because, you know, the Chariot often has like steeds and it's on land, but in this card, it is in a boat being guided by these two. I'm not sure what kind of fish they are. I want to say sturgeon, but I don't think I'm right. But this beautiful card, you know, represents the deep water rich energy that comes with the Chariot. So you're on a journey, you're being swept along. It feels like the extraordinary is you being swept along in this current, being pulled towards these extraordinary phenomena that are coming your way. We also have the Knight of Cups. I think the key to accessing these things and to this journey going as smoothly as possible is going to be you unlocking some emotional connection, you kind of being vulnerable and having some maybe a bit wild, but you know, and untamed, but trust and belief that something phenomenal is coming your way, something exciting, something new and extraordinary and unexpected that you haven't experienced yet. Yeah, I'm getting, you know, and this very much echoes Scorpio, actually. It feels like a huge key to this puzzle is having such a rich, deep trust in what is coming your way, in the plans of the universe, in the manifestations that you have been putting out into the world. That your belief, which is a very Jupiterian theme, that your belief is driving this chariot, that your emotions are fueling this, and your passion and your dreams. We also have the Three of Coins, which makes me think very worky vibes, and also I'm getting peeped at by a Four of Pentacles. It's on the bottom of the deck. So there's also a sense of community and growth, also building community within the places that you work, networking if you need to call in favors. Capricorn season is the time. But really using all of the support systems you have, not just expecting these things to kind of beam down out of nowhere, do what you can to push this forward. The Scorpios are very much told to not push things forward and to really trust in the universe. And you're being told to push things forward and to really trust, especially with the Chariot. Like, the Chariot is both a vehicle and also us pushing along our journey with the universe in tandem, as it were. And so with this card, this Three of Coins, really calling in the help and the energies. I also wonder if there's not some spirit group that wants to work with you, that wants to try to help push things forward, because this phenomenon card is very spirit forward. So yeah, leave no stone unturned. Call in the cavalry. Get the connection and support that you deserve and you need. We also have the King of Swords. This is about activating and utilizing your acumen and your innate intelligence. It's also about believing in it, about honing in on what you are good at and what you have been working on and presenting it to the world in a brave and bold way. And I think that's kind of expect the extraordinary part of this, is like when you put something out about yourself into the world and you are extraordinary, extraordinary things are going to happen, but you have to be bold. You have to believe. You have to trust and fully bet on yourself. Like, I haven't pulled the Wheel of Fortune, but it feels very Wheel of Fortune. Like, to fully bet on yourself, to fully play the game and believe that you can win is very important. And also, the two kind of final cards of the deck is we have the Six of Swords, and like I said earlier, Four of Pentacles. And with the Six of Swords, it is very much echoing the Chariot. We're in a vessel, or on the water. It feels as though you're on a journey. It also might be an indication of like actual physical travel during the season of Capricorn. The six, the Six of Swords is very much like you will take a trip. So maybe you're planning on a trip. Maybe you haven't made one yet, but it might be good to kind of get into some fresh energy and a different environment, even for a little bit, just to kind of clear things up, even if it's just like a little day trip or something, just to get the energy flowing and moving, to clear your head. And while we are expecting the extraordinary to happen, this is also not being done without some form of planning, some form of taking into account like your resources and needs and like what you have to offer. You can be both fully aware of what you have to put on the table and also be fully confident in knowing that you are worth more than anyone could ever imagine. I don't think that those are mutually exclusive. I think that a lot of people undersell themselves, and the people who oversell themselves are doing it on pure confidence. And that is how you should be doing it, because we don't truly know what we're capable of until we do the thing. And so in Capricorn season, be bold. Take control of your resources. You are the phenomenon. You are the exceptional and extraordinary energy here. And so you putting out your belief into the universe, harnessing the other people, your network, who also believe in you to get something that you truly desire, that is what is on the table. And I think this is really kind of a cute little final moment. Bottom of the deck, we have this King of Wands and the Sun. This is about you fully stepping into your path. This is about you fully believing and betting on yourself. Also, the King of Wands card, also has a sun. This is about you shining to your fullest. And those who cannot stand the heat of your blaze, they don't really, they're not able to be in it, and that's fine. Doesn't mean you should dim your light at all. So in this Capricorn season, shine brightly. Be out there and expressive and your full self, and bet on yourself. Do something that requires you to put out your belief in yourself into the world. All right, my loves, this is my reading for my Sagittarian folks. This is also the end of this video. I hope you all are well, and I wish you a very blessed Capricorn season and happy Gregorian calendar new year.